This is the Bates Bobcast, our weekly podcast where we take a look at the week that was in Bates athletics. My name is Aaron Morse, and this week we're previewing the 2016 Bates football season. They play their first game at Trinity this Saturday at 1 o'clock. Volleyball has their home opener this Wednesday against rival Bowdoin, and the cross-country, golf, and tennis teams had some standout performers this past week. All that and more coming up on the Bates Bobcast. The cross-country teams excelled this weekend, hosting the likes of Tufts, WPI, Southern Maine, and Wellesley at Pineland Farms for their first official meets of the season. The men's team finished first out of 4 teams, helped in large part by placing 5 runners in the top 10. The top Bates runner, that would be James Jones, a first year from Colorado Springs, who finished 4th overall with a time of just over 26 minutes. For his outstanding performance, Jones is our male Bobcat of the week.
It was kind of exciting to get my first 8K out of the way, and it was the home course, so a lot of the kids on the team knew it really well, and they felt really confident going into the race. So even though I wasn't very experienced on the course, it was nice to have a pretty positive atmosphere around.
Absolutely. Now, you're from Colorado, so tell us about how you even found out about Bates up here in Maine and why you decided to come here.
Well, my high school coach was really fond of all the NESCAC schools, and he really recommended that I look into them. And so, when I went in contact coaches, Coach Fresh and the other Bates faculty members were very positive, and I was able to contact them through email and kind of get a feel for what the school would be like, and it just seemed like a really positive vibe, and so I applied early decision, and here I am.
Did you visit at all, or did you come here sight unseen?
I came here sight unseen.
So it's still getting lay of the land, right? What's the adjustment process been for you to college and to Bates specifically coming from Colorado?
It hasn't been too tough so far. It's been really, really smooth. Very nice people overall. Pretty much very similar to what I would have expected.
You obviously ran at elevation then in high school, and so now you don't have to do that anymore. Is it easier now?
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't necessarily say it's easier, but the times are just faster. So, the races feel very similar to how they would at high altitude, except that you're running faster with the same effort. In training, it does make a pretty significant difference because the recovery time at altitude is noticeably slower, and so that's where it really becomes kind of obvious.
And then what's been the training like so far for you with your teammates and everything, getting adjusted to that? I mean, is it more intense than high school, or is it about the same?
Yeah, it's more intense for sure. It's a little bit lower mileage than what I was running in high school, and then with a significantly higher intensity than at least what I was doing over the summer. So, yeah, pretty much the same amount of mileage and just more workouts now than what I was doing before.
What was the moment like when you found out the team had won the race this past weekend? Because that's pretty cool to finish first there.
Yeah, it was really good. It was a smaller race, so you kind of got to keep things in perspective. Yeah. But it was really good to have a positive race real early off in the season. And I think everyone really felt good about the result.
What's Coach Fresh like so far?
He's pretty serious, but he's very outgoing, really enthusiastic. You can tell he loves the team and he loves what he's doing. I think he's been there a really long time, so he's clearly got some stuff working pretty well.
And then in the classroom, obviously, classes started recently. So what's that adjustment been like? Because I know initially the first few weeks you don't have class, now you do.
Yeah, I mean it's always nice in the summer, not just to be able to like focus on the things that you would do voluntarily, you would do anyway. But I mean relative to high school, the workload's very equivalent. The teachers are also very very enthusiastic, seem to be liking what they're teaching. So it's been really nice so far. Plus, I haven't had any big projects to yet, so right. So it's been pretty easy so far.
What are you most looking forward to about the rest of the season?
Well, I'm really looking forward to the Kentucky race that's in 2 weeks. I'm looking forward to regionals and NESCACs and just kind of the big races.
Are you going to be planning to run track also then?
Yeah, I'll be running indoor and outdoor track, I think.
Okay, so what's it going to be like, you think, or what are you thinking about, being in season every single, fall, winter, and spring?
Yeah, it's a little bit more pressure because you don't have an off season where you can just kind of just do training on your own and not really have to worry about what anyone else is doing. But at the same time, you get to constantly be assessing your performances against other people, and even though it is another season, there's going to be a lot of the time where even if we are doing races every week, we're not going to be tapering every week, and so we'll basically be replacing. In high school, I might have been doing 2 to 3 workouts a week, and in college now, when we're racing, all through the middle of the winter, I'll be doing 1 to 2 workouts probably, and then a race, and so the race will just replace a workout.
Gotcha. And then, looking from the team perspective, what's the team dynamic like so far? Obviously, your first year just coming in with a lot of guys who are very experienced.
Yeah, and they were really welcoming, and a lot of them were offering me tips and stuff. So, yeah, it was really good team atmosphere.
The women's cross-country team finished second to Tufts out of 4 teams. They were strong at the top, with junior Catherine Cook finishing second overall and senior Jessica Wilson finishing first out of 66 runners with a time of just over 18 minutes. It's Wilson's first place finish in an official cross-country meet in her college career, and she is our female Bobcat of the Week.
Joined by our female Bobcat of the Week, Jessica Wilson, to talk about the women's cross-country team. And first of all, your performance at the meet you all hosted this past weekend. Your first victory in an official cross-country meet here in college. What was it like?
It was very exciting. Me and my fellow teammate, Catherine Cook, who's a junior, we ran the whole race together. And so, we really kind of shared that win between the two of us because we kind of strategically ran the race the whole time together, and Pineland is such a mental course where it's so difficult with the amount of hills, and so when everyone else was sort of going out as fast as they could, we were kind of holding back and talking to each other the whole race, and I think that definitely helped a lot, and I definitely couldn't have finished that race without her because it was very challenging.
Yeah, I'm always curious because obviously you're running with your teammate, but at some point you want to separate, or she wants to separate to get that first place. And so, when did you decide to make your move? I guess.
Yeah. So the thing about Pineland is that last mile is pretty much the most challenging mile, and so I think, as much as we can as a team, we try and run together throughout the whole race. But eventually what ends up happening is just organically we do separate. Someone might have a better day than someone else, and someone, might be better at hills or vice versa. And so, yeah, I think the end of the race, we were both, quite tired. But you kind of just give it your all at the end of the race and just see whatever happens. And ultimately, I think it's, no matter who comes in first or second, it's all for sort of the team points. So it's kind of, it doesn't really matter the finishing order, as long as Bates can sort of get a low, or in this case I think it was a high score, so that was pretty exciting.
Yeah, and then, when did you start to realize throughout the race that you had a chance to, win?
Yeah, that was didn't realize that was going to happen. We started the race, and we were racing against Tufts and Wellesley and WPI, and all of which are great teams, but Tufts is nationally ranked, and I believe Wellesley might be as well. But Tufts is a very, very strong team, and I think within the first maybe half mile, their whole team was ahead of us. All 25 girls, and me and Catherine just looked at each other and we said, we can just let them go because, we train at Pineland and we know what Pineland is like. And if you go out fast at Pineland, you're going to regret it. And so, for the first half of the race, we were pretty far back. But we ultimately knew what was going to happen because this happened last year as well, and it happens every single time, that you just have to, this is the type of race where you have to work your way up slowly and you have to race smart. And if you don't, it will really come back and bite you because it's extraordinarily painful. So I think Catherine and I, what we tried to do really was just sort of work our way up through the pack, and sadly for some of the other runners, some of them, got to that third mile and just were just out of steam. And so by the time we got to the third mile, we were obviously very tired, but I think we sort of had positioned ourselves better in the long run compared to some of the other runners. So I think, rounding that last, there's a cutoff called the Oak Hill Cutoff, which is the last sort of part of the race. And rounding that, I think we started to realize, where we would place, which was pretty exciting. And then coming down that finish line and finishing with Catherine was really rewarding. That was great.
Is there a sprint at the end, or are you just jogging across?
Yeah, I mean, especially at Pineland, the finish it feels like it's miles and miles long. It's you see the finish, but it's almost like you're running in sand. Mm-hmm. And so, you kind of try your best to sprint to the finish, and especially some of our other teammates. One of our first years, Megan, she, outkicked a girl, and so that can be the difference at the end between us as a team winning or losing in some of these meets. And so trying your best to sort of kick at the end, even though it's incredibly painful, is really important.
And then cross country, you're training so much. I mean, you run for miles upon miles upon miles, and the races are actually shorter than your training by design, right?
Right, exactly. Yeah, so we run girls cross country runs anywhere between 25 and 50-ish miles a week, depending on how injury prone you are, depending on your grade, and usually you increase your mileage as you go through your college career. And so we go on these long runs, and we'll run 9-10 miles at Pineland on a Sunday, and then when it comes time to race the 3 miles, it's still very challenging because obviously the pace is increased, but it's way more mentally manageable, and your muscle memory comes back in your legs, and you remember what certain hills feel like. And so I think we had a huge advantage over the other teams racing at Pineland this past weekend.
And then you're a senior now, so goals for this the season's just started, but goals for the year for you?
Yeah, I think this cross-country season we're pretty excited. We have a really strong team, very small team this year. We have 23 girls, usually we have about 30. So we have a strong but mighty team this year, and so we're really excited. And last year we had a really great NESCAC finish, and so I would just say, to the best of our ability, we'll try to do our best at states. We're at Pineland again, which is exciting, so hopefully we can win, because that would be great. And then, just trying to have a great NESCAC race and hopefully improve on regionals is always a great goal for us. And so I think just as a team, just progressing, and we have a lot of up-and-comers, a lot of really talented freshmen, and a lot of sophomores who have really stepped it up. So I think it'll be a really good season.
All right, well, looking forward to it. Jessica, thanks so much for joining us here on the Bobcast.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me.
The men's tennis team competed at the Middlebury Invitational this weekend, and the doubles team of sophomore Josh Quijano and first-year Nick Glover shined, advancing all the way to the finals of the A-Flight. Their run to the championship match featured wins over teams from Brandeis, Middlebury, and Skidmore. While they fell 8-5 in their final match to finish runner-up, it could be the beginning of something big for the duo. Quijano and Glover joined the Bobcast to talk about their run at the Middlebury Invitational.
Josh, you competed last year in it, and this time advancing farther all the way to the finals. So what was different about this year? What was working for you out there on the court?
I definitely practiced hard over the summer, and I definitely wanted to improve from last year, so when I went on the court this year, I was just hungry for the win, did everything I could, hustled for every ball, and then Nick right by my side also helped me with it, so it was a great tournament.
Yeah, and obviously, Nick, you being a first year, it's your first ever tournament as a collegian, so what was the experience like for you?
Yeah, it was really cool. It was a lot more, chill than I thought it'd be, so I, really enjoyed it, and then it was nice having, the whole team cheering you on while you were playing. That just gave you a little extra boost to try to win it, so it was awesome.
And then as a sophomore, you're the elder statesman in this group, so what do you tell them about what it takes to succeed there?
We definitely had to be more focused instead of just playing around in practice, but when we went on the court, we weren't really focused on just the winning part. We were focused on having fun. We both we're always smiling and stuff, and never really got mad. We always enjoyed it.
One of the teams you beat was from Middlebury, and they were the top-seeded team, I believe, in the flight initially. And so, do you guys even look at those rankings? Do you know who you're facing and what the accomplishment meant?
Yeah, we knew very well because one of the guys, he played at Michigan last year, actually, and transferred over to Middlebury. So we already knew he was a stud. Yeah. But that just kind of got us, more excited. We really wanted to, see how good we could do, and then we just killed it.
And this being the fall season, it's a short one, just a couple tournaments. So how do you guys approach it?
Well, we approach it like every other match. We focus and we go in looking to do our best. It doesn't matter if it's in the fall or the spring. We represent Bates, and we truly enjoy it. So yeah.
And excellent. And moving forward, what are you most looking to work on to take your game to the next level as a first year here at the college level?
Coach Gasconway he's kind of like famous around these parts as being like a really good coach, and so I think he could take me, or he could definitely help me maybe with like my serve and a couple other technical things, as well as my my mental stuff, because I get a little mad on the court sometimes, and so he can like calm me down and stuff like that.
Yeah, Coach Gasconway obviously went to Bates, class of '89, former All-American, so an institution here. Josh, what are you most looking to improve on it now that it's been your second year in the program?
My goal this year is to become an All-American. We have ITAs coming up, so if Nick and I can win it in doubles, that'd be awesome. Represent Bates and then go to small college nationals. But yeah, slow and steady goals.
Yeah, and then playing doubles, I mean, it's obviously a lot of difference between that and singles. What do you prefer? What's the differences for you, at least?
I've always preferred doubles, personally, just because tennis is really, it's kind of lonely sometimes. And so, playing doubles is kind of fun to, have someone to, talk to and, just kind of, it's just way more relaxing than singles, I think. So, yeah.
How about you, Josh?
I totally agree. Doubles is way more fun. I love the doubles scene. Yeah, if you're down, you have your partner to pump you up, and then vice versa. So, it's just a great environment. I love playing doubles.
And then, do you see this being the team in the spring? Because I know some guys don't play in the fall for various reasons, whether they're abroad or whatnot. Yeah. What do you think?
I think Nick and I will probably stick together throughout the spring. We have a pretty solid lineup this year. We have Ben and Chris, obviously not here yet, but in the spring they're a really good doubles partner. So I think we're gonna have a solid team this year.
And then what have some of the older guys told you about, Bates and what you can expect moving forward?
Well, they've really stressed that this year is kind of a special year for Bates tennis, and so they've been to me and the other freshmen stay focused, complete the task at hand, and we can make this year a really good one.
Well, great start going to the finals there in the Military Invitational. Josh, Nick, thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The golf teams performed well at the main state championships over the weekend. The women's golf team finished second out of 3 teams, led by junior Kelly Wasserman, who finished 4th out of 14 individuals. Meanwhile, the men's golf team finished 6th out of 10 teams, with junior Matt Marcus posting a 2-day score of 153, which tied him with 3 other players for 7th place among 50 individuals. That was good enough to earn Marcus all-state honors for the first time in his career.
Well, it's definitely been something I've been hoping to achieve at some point during my Bates golf career. It's great to be able to do it this weekend. Some things were going right, and I was making some good enough shots to definitely achieve my goal.
What was the course like? Obviously, you're pretty familiar with it, I imagine.
It was actually our first time we had played there, even though it's right down the road, which is funny. But the course was in okay shape. It was different from our home course. It was definitely very hilly. There are some tough lies out there, but I think we overcame any obstacles that might have presented.
And what have you been working on this year to kind of take your game to the next level?
This year, one major thing I've been working on is really the mental part of the game. Sometimes it's difficult when you hit bad shots to come back from that and recover, and I've really been trying to put maybe poor shots in the past and really look forward to the next one and hopefully do better from there.
Is it in the back of your mind as you're playing that you had a chance for All-State? What was going through your head?
It was actually funny because both days, through the first 6 holes, I was 6 over par, which is not a good start. So I think that might have actually put it to really the back burner, and maybe that once that pressure was kind of relieved, it might have been easier to move forward from there.
I have to ask, obviously, unfortunately, Coach Flynn passing away over the summer. What's the transition been like to the new setup?
Yes. Well, first off, he was an incredible coach, had a great spirit, and was always trying to help us do better mentally and was helping us with our game where he could. This year we have a really fantastic coach, Coach Upham, who is an Olympic ski coach. He's the Nordic ski coach for Bates, and he really has that competitive spirit, much like Coach Flynn did. So he's really picking right up from where Coach Flynn left us, and he's doing a wonderful job.
I know you've got some special instructors, also some pros helping you, right?
Yes, the head pro at Martindale, Nick Lykos, and Kyle, I'm not sure of his last name, but they're both out there giving us instruction where we might want it or need it, and it's really a great addition to our team.
And then the team overall, a 6th place finish, pretty strong. I mean, what was your take of the team overall so far?
Well, after the first day, we were in 3rd place, and the second day it was a bit of a struggle the second day, but we have a really strong team. No one graduated from last year, so we have a bunch of seniors this year, and we have some great incoming freshmen, some of whom have already played in tournaments and done well, and hopefully the others will be playing in tournaments soon.
Golf's interesting because obviously it's a very individual sport. You're out there basically by yourself. You might have a playing partner or whatever. And so how does the team kind of build camaraderie? Is there any chances to do that, really?
Well, it's great that we get to practice together. We're all out there every day driving to the course, and we all get to practice in that sense. We're on the range and the putting green. And also during the tournaments, it's great to be able to see each other on different holes and see how they're doing, maybe tips here and there or encouragement. So even though it's an individual sport, we still definitely interact a lot on the course and during practice.
What are some goals maybe you discuss, perhaps individually or as a team moving forward? Because obviously we're only a couple tournaments into the year.
Right. Well, I would say one major goal for us would be to do well in the NESCAC championship. We would love to be able to qualify for the spring tournament if we do well enough for NESCACs. And it's something I feel as though we've been on the cusp the last few years, and this year with some great additions to our team and everyone's still improving, I think we have a real chance to do well.
Yeah, and it's tricky because everyone has to be on their A game at the same time, kind of, right? Yeah.
Exactly. There are some days when some guys are playing great, and then maybe the next day they might not do as well, and then the other guys are playing great. So if we can just really be cohesive and everyone really buckle down, I think we can do very well.
The volleyball team picked up a dramatic 3-2 win at Southern Maine last Wednesday, and the Bobcats host Bowdoin this Wednesday at 7 o'clock for their first home match of the season. Coach Melissa Duran's squad is off to a 2-5 start this year, but if you look beyond the record, you see a team that has some big-time potential.
Talking Bates volleyball with Melissa Duran, the head coach of the Bobcats. Second year here now with the program for you, and after the start so far this season, finally get a home match on Wednesday. What's your evaluation overall of the team through the first few matches on the road?
I think that our evaluation, we talked in the beginning of the year what our entire season should look like, and really focusing on the process and the steps to get us where we wanted to be. And our big thing for the first quarter of our season is we just want to be playing hard. We don't have to be playing well yet, but we have to be playing really hard and with an intensity on the court. And I think that if you've seen us play for our first 7 matches, there's been a really strong defensive intensity. There's been this just tremendous work ethic and toughness in our matches. And that's really gone to script for what we said we wanted the beginning of our season to be like. So we're definitely excited to be home, though.
Yeah, I'm going to follow up on that. Obviously, finally the first home match on Wednesday. I mean, how tough is it for the players to play all those matches on the road to start the year?
I don't know. I'd almost rather we start all these matches on the road and then ease into a home schedule as opposed to start off at home and be comfortable and cozy and have to go on the road towards the end. So I like the way our schedule is set up. We are away heavy to start and home heavy at the end, and I think that's going to end up being actually a better system for us.
And talk about some of the first years who have contributed right away. You look at Taylor Stafford-Smith, Gabby Eustache. What do they bring to the table? One, obviously, with a lot of kills, another being a libero.
I think they just bring a really, kind of dynamic personalities. We've got a really fun group, and we have this unique group of 16 that work really well together. Gabby definitely brings just this tremendous intensity to our entire back row. Where Taylor's just this really kind of calming, efficient presence in the front row. So they're two very different players, but what they're bringing to the table is melding together so well with what we already have.
Great, and you mentioned that early in the season you focused on playing hard and you see what you need to improve. So through your first few matches, what does need improvement here moving forward, in your opinion?
I think just getting in a little bit more of an offensive system for us. We're having this great defensive intensity. Our service team is actually really strong for this time of year. And just being able to now put that piece together with a little better offense. So our big focus in this next half of season is offense. Being able to, we've got a stable of hitters, and being able to distribute the ball to all those hitters and get a little bit more efficiency out of all of our positions is what we're going to really be chasing for the next few weeks.
And then it seems like obviously every match Chandler McGrath is basically leading you in kills. She's typically what makes her so effective now as a senior, and what does she need to do to continue this performance throughout the year like she did last season?
I think what you'll start to see is Chandler coming on even stronger. As our passing gets better, as our setting gets more consistent, we're putting Chandler in better positions to make stronger plays. I think in any volleyball season, when you first start, it's a little sloppy, and Chandler's had to really she's been asked to really kind of make something out of maybe nothing, and has done really well with that. But as our passing has gotten better and our setting has gotten better, she's in a position, more so even you saw it this past weekend with her kill statistics being higher, we're putting her in an even better position. So I expect Chandler's going to come on even stronger towards the end of the year, which is going to be a lot for another team to handle.
And then Jacqueline Forney was a captain as a sophomore.
Yes.
Captain again as a junior. What qualities does she have to make it so she was a captain at such a young age?
Jack is just everything if you could build a perfect leader, Jack would have every component of it. And I think her teammates recognize that, and I think they also recognize just how hard Jacqueline works. It's so easy to follow Jack because you know that whatever she's asking you to do, she would do 10 times herself, and that she just puts in so many hours to this, not just on the court, but off the court and in the weight room, and all the things she does behind the scenes that she never wants or takes any credit for. She's one of the most just tremendous leaders I've been fortunate to work with.
Excellent. And then the last question for you, IMC. Every team sets goals. Certainly you want to make the NESCAC tournament at a minimum, but what goals have you discussed with this team?
Our goals at the beginning of the year were to put ourselves in a really strong position in the NESCAC tournament and to do damage when we get there. We know that it's not the regular season winner that gets the bid. It's the tournament winner. And if we can just put ourselves in a good position to play tournament ball, we're going to be really happy with that. So our goal early on, and we haven't discussed it since, but we said early on, this is what we want to do. We want to put ourselves in a great seed going into the tournament, and then we want to go in and surprise some people and do some damage. And if we can snag that NCAA seed, that's really what this is all about. We discussed that at the beginning of the year. We haven't talked about it since because we know, we have to work on the processes that it takes to get there, and that's really what we're focused on right now is that process.
And then Wednesday, we mentioned the first home match. Bowdoin, tough opponent. We saw that last year. Bowdoin, obviously, very tough. What did you learn from the experience playing them a couple times last year to apply this year? It is not applicable at all new season.
I don't know that it's applicable at all, only because both teams have very different personnel sets now. I do like that it's a non-NESCAC match. I feel like that might free us up a little bit to take some chances to be a little bit more aggressive without having those NESCAC nerves that tend to permeate all of our NESCAC matches. So I don't know that we can apply anything from last year to seeing them again. Again, both teams are pretty different at this point.
All right, well, we're looking forward to the first home match this Wednesday again against Bowdoin. Melissa Duran, thanks so much.
Thank you very much.
The men's soccer team fought the University of New England to a 1-1 draw on Wednesday before falling to Tufts 3-0 on the road last Saturday. Meanwhile, the women's soccer and field hockey teams dropped matches to Bowdoin and Tufts, respectively, this past week. All three teams will look to bounce back this week, with the men's soccer team visiting Bowdoin on Tuesday and all three squads hosting Wesleyan on Saturday and Williams on Sunday. And now, let's talk some football. The Bobcats visit Trinity this Saturday for a 1 o'clock kick to start the season. Bates head coach Mark Harriman joined the Bobcast to break down the Bobcats' chances on the gridiron this year.
It's the 2016 Bates College football preview here on the Bobcast, joined by the head coach of the Bobcats, Mark Harriman, and to talk about the upcoming season. First game this Saturday coming up at Trinity, Coach. First of all, obviously a tough task to start the year going down to Connecticut. How are you preparing your team for such a tough early task? Because last year you had the same situation kind of when you hosted Amherst.
It's in some ways pick your poison, whether it's Trinity or Amherst. They've both been quality programs really since I've been here. We're excited about the opportunity, and that's the way we approach it. We approach it as an opportunity, coming out against one of the top teams in the conference right away certainly gives us a barometer of where we are in regards to the rest of the season. So we're excited to go down there. Obviously, that's they're a very good football team, and we feel that our strengths match up with their strengths pretty well. So that's looking forward to going down and getting it started.
Absolutely. A little less than a month for training camp purposes for this team. So far, what's been the two biggest takeaways maybe you've noticed from camp?
We've had great focus. I think that's the thing. We've played a lot of guys a year ago that are back, and that's really paid great dividends going into camp this year with guys having a little more knowledge of what they're doing on both sides of the ball and in the kicking game, and just the expectations that we have with the intensity level and the focus that we need in practice. And it's so far to me that's been a great plus for us.
Excellent. And then let's break it down, kind of position by position almost, essentially. But obviously a new starting quarterback this year, something you're familiar with, breaking in a new starting quarterback. But it's Sandy Plaschke. He's a sophomore, 6'1", 190 pounds. What have you noticed from him in camp, working with the first team basically for the first time?
Yeah, Sandy, again, had not a bunch of game experience last year, but he did learn our offense a year ago. So he's really done a great job taking the next step and kind of understanding his role in it. Has done a great job throwing the football, which I think is going to be a big plus for us. And certainly running the option, he's more than capable of doing that athletically. So we're really excited about how he's progressed.
And one of the most important positions in this offensive system is the dive back. And Peter Boyer, sophomore, 6 foot 205, won the job in camp. What impressed you so much about him?
His toughness. I mean, he did play for us some last year, especially towards the end of the year. That's a very solid position for us. I think right now we've got 3 guys that will play in every game. It's nice to have that type of competition at any position, and certainly with Tyler Jansen and Ryan Spillane both there as well. They all bring a little something different to the table. Tyler, is coming back from obviously being injured a little bit last year and coming from the slot back position. So it's a little bit of an adjustment for him, but I think he'll just get better and better. And Ryan's he's probably going to be our short yardage guy. He's going to be a guy that when we need to get those tough yards, he'll be in there. But I think Peter has done a really good job of his understanding. Brings a lot of enthusiasm to the group. I think that's something that we really have looked for on offense, and he certainly provides that for us.
So that should be interesting to watch. Sophomore quarterback, sophomore dive back, at least starting there in Boyer, and then looking at the slot back position. You have a host of slot backs, obviously, but one guy who stands out at least to me, Frank Williams was banged up last year, but still had a very productive season when healthy. What makes him so effective, and how nice is it to have him healthy right now?
Yeah, I mean, again, that's a deep position for us as well. If obviously that's the magic word is keeping them healthy. Both, Frank's he's one of those guys that just understands the offense really well, and is an explosive playmaker. I mean, he's proven that virtually in every game he's played. McCoy Nickel is the same way. He's done a great job this preseason as far as his knowledge of the offense and really taking that next step as far as being able to be on the field full time for us, and Sean Peterson as well. Sean was hurt early in the year last year, but towards the end of the year came in and did a great job. Was very productive for us, and Kyle Flaherty as well. Kyle Flaherty is a sophomore who did some great things for us last year. So that's a great group.
Yeah, a lot of slot backs. Looking forward to seeing them. And then, obviously, Mark Riley graduated. You have to replace his production in the aggregate. Who are some wide receivers you're looking to step up this year?
Yeah, I think, the guys that have kind of separated themselves a little. Marcus Ross has done a great job. Obviously, he's another sophomore that played for us later in the season last year and has done a great job through camp. Noah Stebbins has come over from the defensive side and was a very good receiver in high school, and I think this is going to a real good move for us overall as far as getting him into that position, and Brian Daly as well. So there's 3 guys for those 2 spots that I think we feel comfortable with as far as getting them out there, and whether it's in a rotation or whatever it might be.
And obviously none of the skill position guys would succeed without the help of the offensive line. Right. Big guys up front. Who have stood out for most for you in camp?
Well, Jimmy Fagan and Mitch Hildreth are both seniors who played a lot of football for us. Both really 3-year starters and have done a great job with their leadership and just their ability to understand what we're doing. A guy that I think's taken a big step forward up there is Dylan Rosh, who played a little bit for us last year, but has really come on and has done a great job both when we were up at Colby and just every time I turn on the tape, he's really showing up. And Sean Lovett's obviously back at left tackle, and again, a young guy who understands what we're doing more, and so. That's a good group as well, we feel.
Excellent. Now let's move over to the defensive side of the ball. Even though obviously you're head coach, but you're also coaching linebackers this year, and that's where you played. When you played football and everything. So how nice is it to be coaching linebackers again?
It's nice to be back. No offense to the offensive guys, but defense is my roots. It's nice to be back on the dark side. That's for sure. I think it fits my personality a little bit better. We really feel good about where we are right now. We've got a host of guys up front, starting up front with the defensive line. We've got, really 3 guys at nose and Colin Richardson and Connor DeSantis and Walter Washington, who's going to play a little bit in there as well as at the end. And all 3 of those guys, bring something good to the table. And then at our edge positions, Ken Dumas is back, Sean Antonuccio's back, Jack Maritz is back, and Andrew Siegel is back. All those guys played for us last year. Tyler Harrington is a sophomore, and Calvin Johnstone is a sophomore, and both those guys, Tyler's really come on and done a great job for us, and I think Calvin's going to be, a guy that will probably in some pass rush situations and things like that we're going to be able to get in. So overall, that's a very, very deep, talented group with the defensive line. The stack linebackers, obviously Mark Upton is, he's as good as we've had here at any position. Extremely instinctive. I mean, I've been fortunate to be able to coach some pretty good linebackers over my career, and he's as instinctive as anybody I've coached, and just a real, it's a cliche, but he's a real student of the game. He spends a lot of time watching tape, and the guy that I think's made some huge strides for us this year and really come into his own. Obviously started for us last year, but Sam Francis has had an outstanding camp. Just done a great job in a leadership role and also just with his performance. And Max Breschke, who's back as a kind of our weak side stack guy, has really, kind of figured it out. Last year was his first year back to football, and so I think he's a lot more comfortable in that role. And Chase Fulton's a young guy, a sophomore, who we feel was, going to give us some quality snaps in there as well. The outside backers, we call them the down safeties. Right. Andrew Jankalunas is a returning starter. We moved Joe Frake, who played quite a bit at free safety for us, closer to the ball. I think he'll do a great job there. And Ivan Reese, who came over from offense, is playing that position as well. And we actually got a freshman who'll be in the mix a little bit there, James Hussey, who's really done a good job for us there.
Excellent. Now let's go back to Upton real quick before we talk about the secondary. You mentioned most instinctive player, a student of the game. I mean, when he's this good, winning all these awards, what does he need to do take his game even to the next level this season in terms of like production? Because he's been so productive.
Yeah,
where is there room for improvement?
Well, there's always room for improvement. That's when you get to that point, you might as well turn your cleats in. You don't need to improve anymore. But he, I think his knowledge of the run game and everything he's done there is outstanding. I think he's taken the next step for himself personally in the pass game, and I think that can be a big help for us. It's just understanding that, what his role in that is when he's in coverage. Obviously, we do blitz him quite a bit because he's great at that, and but when he's in coverage, I think he's done a really good job of seeing the football and being able to break on it. So.
Excellent. Now let's look at that secondary. Obviously, Trevor Lyons made some huge plays last year for you guys. You have him back there again in a free safety role. What are you looking for from him this season?
Yeah, well, we started. Our grand plan last year was to have him be the free safety, and it just didn't work out last year with some injuries and some things, and we had to move him back to corner. He's a great leader, one of the best leaders I've been around, and just a very knowledgeable player, plays hard all the time, and I think having a really solid nose guard, a really solid middle linebacker, and a really solid free safety is kind of what you can grow off as a defense, and so having him in there has been a big plus for us. And then the corner positions, again, Brandon Williams is back. He's a very instinctual player. Does a great job breaking on the ball. And then really we've got three guys that athletically are all capable of playing. They're all still young, so they're up and down a little bit. They're all three sophomores. Art Churchwell, who played quite a bit for us, Coy Candelario, and Kevin Claflin, who was hurt last year. And so all three of those guys have, again, that's kind of like the dive-back position. They're all three capable of playing for us. They all will play for us, somewhere in the game. And, wish we had that type of competition at every position because it makes everybody better. So, again, if you look on paper where, as far as starters coming back and things like that, we're technically more experienced on the defensive side of the ball. But a lot of the guys on offense did, play legitimate snaps for us last year. So,
gotcha. And then obviously your punter and your kicker are both back, right?
Yeah, and our long snapper. So we're fortunate to have all three of those guys back, and they all work real hard at their craft, and we expect them all to take the next level, take the next step in their productivity.
So obviously this time of the year, the week leading up to the first game, there's a lot of optimism in every camp in the country. From your perspective, what's your biggest concern? Maybe something making you a little nervous right now going to the first game, if anything?
Well, I think anything, anytime. To be honest with you, our health, our ability to stay healthy over the course of the season, I think it's. And it's not unique to Bates. It's unique. It's probably, somewhat of at any level. But I think, especially at the Division III level, we've got some quality football players here. Behind them, a lot of times you have some young guys who will be good football players, but you'd like to let them be seasoned by, a year of practice and JV games and things like that before they actually have to step on the field for you. But that it doesn't always work out. So, but we'll do everything within our power to try to keep guys healthy and fresh so that they're able to show up on Saturday and get after it.
I am curious. Obviously, we touched on Trinity earlier. Obviously, being a very good program. You didn't play them last year. And how much, in terms of a film study, do you do from what they did last year compared to, because it's the opening game, you haven't seen them this year yet, right. You didn't play them last year, and how much does that come into play, if at all?
It does a little bit. I mean, some of it's speculation. They return virtually everybody on offense, so I don't see them. They're very well coached. I don't see them, changing a whole lot. They're actually returning all their skill positions besides, and then all but 2 of their linemen. So they're a very veteran group. Tendencies you can kind of throw out the window for us for the first couple of weeks, because even the second week we've only got 1 game from this season on. But I think from some of the things that they've done over the year, and the great thing about playing in a conference is, even though we don't see them we don't see Trinity every year, we see them every few years, and we always we'll look at every film from the year before and try to see what we can come up with.
All right, great. Well, we're looking forward to kickoff on Saturday. Thanks so much, Coach.
Thank you.
How will the football team's opener go? And will our other fall sports pick up some victories this week? We'll let you know next time on the Bates Bobcast.